Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching accesstv.org.
Good evening, and welcome to another segment of One Hartford, here with our Joe and Barbara Ruhe. We're going to be talking about some things that are going on at City Hall. As a matter of fact, this evening, and we used to have the same number on accesstv.org. I believe that number is 914-222-3771. So if you have any questions about what's going on, you want to ask me, you want to ask Barbara, give us a call. So, Barbara, say hello to the people out there.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It's good to be here again.
All righty. So, we were talking a little bit before we came on the air about Hartford and their hiring practices, and there's a certain veteran who wants to apply for the police department, and they're saying, well, he's not qualified for the job because he has bad credit.
I've run into that with some clients, and it just makes no sense because you have bad credit because you're either unemployed or you're underemployed, or you have catastrophic medical bills. There's a reason. And that doesn't mean a person's incapable of doing the job. I think that's sort of the last bastion of things that we haven't outlawed.
No, I think so. To me, I think it's a discrimination issue because you look at the people who live in the inner cities, those are normally the people who have those kind of issues. Or look at this winter. I mean, who did not face a tough winter this year? And everybody had to deal with those high, enormous, either electric bills if you were heating with electricity or those enormous gas bills if you were heating with gas.
And we were turning the heat on into May.
All right, you see what I'm saying? So that might have been a person who normally did not have, a credit problem or a payment problem. So they had to say, okay, well, I got to keep the heat on, so I can't pay the car note, or I can't pay some other credit cards, and land themselves into that kind of situation because of necessity.
Well, and I tell people all the time, I said, if it's a choice between medicine and food, don't pay the other bills. Call the company up, tell them you're struggling, tell them, you'll work out a payment arrangement. I think a lot of times people become overwhelmed. And the other thing is if people really have huge problems, they need to look at bankruptcy.
Right. And you know what? Strange that you would mention that because I was talking to an individual today about taxes. And she was mentioning that if an individual was going into foreclosure because of taxes, is bankruptcy a means for them?
Well, if it's property taxes and it's lien, probably not. Okay. I don't really do a lot of bankruptcy. I know just a little bit about bankruptcy. I think it's a way of stalling. Certainly with the IRS, I know you can work out payment plans. I don't know what's going on in Hartford in terms of the tax foreclosures.
Well, let me tell you what's going on with Hartford and the foreclosure and the tax issues. Every year, the city of Hartford puts together a big tax lien list of people who have not paid their taxes over, let's say, 3-4 years. And so what they'll do is they'll put them on this list because the city of Hartford wants to acquire the cash now.
Right.
So then they'll put the tax liens up for bid, and somebody will come and buy people's liens for like $1,000, $500. I mean, I've seen them as low as $300.
Wow.
And people will come, and they'll buy that, and they'll buy their properties in bulk, and the city will sell them. And then the lien holder now will contact the individual and say, listen, I bought off your tax lien, and now you owe me $10,000. He's like, $10,000? I owe the city of Hartford $800. How to get to $10,000? Well, you have, time accrued, and it's either daily or monthly or weekly, interest keep accruing. They have lawyer fees and all kind of filing fees. And so now you owe $10,000.
Well, it's interesting. Tangentially, I was involved with a tax lien foreclosure. And now all of a sudden, the taxes were low enough that they sold the property, and the individuals are going to be entitled to like $46,000 after they became homeless.
See what I'm saying? But now they lost their home, right?
Yeah.
And for $46,000, they can't go buy the home that they lost.
No.
So that's one of the sad part. Yeah, that is absolutely sad. But see, but in there, people have to be careful and mindful and be educated on who they put in office. It's all contingent on who's sitting in the chair.
Well, I think, everybody talks about, reducing taxes, not raising taxes, raising taxes. The real issues are, how are you spending the tax money?
There you go.
And there's a theory that the taxpayers that were just printing this money in the basement, and we're not. I think with some of the stuff the Yankee Institute puts out, some of us are getting a glimpse at what people are being paid, what their pensions are, and, we should all have gone to work for the state of Connecticut about 30 years ago.
Well, then when money was plentiful, they could give out those kind of pensions. But now everybody is trying to scrape. Everybody. Yeah. I don't care if it's government, not government, local businesses, small businesses, franchises, everybody's counting the pennies.
Well, and I think there needs to be some changes. I think that, when the Social Security was set up, maybe 65 was an ancient age.
Yeah.
Now I know of people who are working till they're 70 or beyond because, number one, they can't afford it, or number two, you maximize your Social Security by not taking it till you're 70. Though I must say, I was thrilled when I turned 65 and I could get Medicare and health insurance because it's a lot cheaper.
Ooh, look out, 65, here I come.
Yeah. Because even with the Obamacare, it's not as inexpensive as the Medicare coverage and the supplement.
Right, and then it still depends on. I love Nancy Pelosi. She calls it affordable health care. She said because some people might not like Obama, but nobody can argue with affordable.
That's right.
So it's affordable health care.
And it's going to have its bumps. I mean, one of the things I would like to see, one of the things I think would really help, is the young people going into the medical professions. They're coming out of school with enormous debt. And in the public health service, I don't know if they still have this program, they would send you to medical school. It wouldn't cost you anything, but then you owed 5 or 10 years on an Indian reservation providing health care. And if we did something similar, and we said to our nursing students, our podiatry students, our dental students, our medical students, you're not going to have to pay for your medical education.
But you got to give back.
You got to give back.
You got to give back.
And what the public health service learned was that many of these people then went into primary care, which is really where you need people. And I think that's where the whole medical thing went off the rails, quite frankly.
Well, that in government, government is kind of, trickling, helping you. Exactly. Some of that stuff to go that way. I was watching right before I came over here. John McCain was talking about the problem with the country was because it lacked leadership, and I'm like, no, John. The problem with the country is that many of you, Republicans, you excluded, are unwilling to work with the leadership that got elected. So that's a big difference when you're unwilling to lead or people continuously impede your progress, so it makes it difficult to lead.
I think the other thing is, and this is on both sides of the aisle, it's entrenched politicians. They're there.
They need to go.
They need to go, and the entire way that we're operating, both on the state level and the federal level, makes no sense. Why do we elect Congress people every 2 years? All they ever do is run. They don't actually do anything.
No, I agree.
Same thing with the state legislature.
No, I agree.
It's expensive to have elections. It does not attract people, in my opinion. And we get what we sort of get what we end up paying for.
No, I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons that when the council decided to do the 4 years rather than the 2 years, I was like eager to say, yeah, I will run, because I agree with you that when you're being elected every 2 years, all you do is run for office. You rarely have enough time to get anything done. If you run for 4 years, now you can set an agenda, kind of listen to the people, see what they want, and have a chance to work those things through at least 3 years before you have to start back, campaigning. Yeah. Otherwise, you're in a constant campaign mode.
Well, and I think, everyone's afraid to open up a constitutional convention in the state. And I understand that. But on the other hand, we're paralyzed by a structure that no longer makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would really
outdated.
I would like to see the House seats be 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see the state Senate seats be 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said
Congress is 6.
well, the Senate, U.S. Senate is 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was told, well, we can't do that because the federal Constitution requires that we have a census every 10 years. Well,
okay,
so fix it.
Right, go vote on that. Make an amendment to that.
I mean, you know, it's like our school system. We run it on an agrarian calendar.
Mm-hmm.
We lose kids in June, July, and August because they're supposed to be out working in the fields.
In the fields.
But we don't have
any farms and fields anymore. And that's one of the things that people make the argument about magnet schools, because magnet schools, the kids go to school 180 days a year, but the public schools, they go 180 days a year also. So they aren't going to school longer, they're just going to school, you know, smarter. So the kids have every Friday afternoon off. So the every Friday afternoon that they have off equals to the 3 months that the other kids have just in the street doing nothing.
Makes no sense.
So let me tell you, that's a whole other story right there.
And you know, everyone says, well, it's going to cost us more money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, maybe it will, but won't we save money on incarcerating people?
There you go.
Won't we save money on not having some of the mental health issues we're dealing with, some of the crime we're dealing with?
We save money on child care because kids are in school instead of hanging out in the streets, and parents have to figure out, you know, what do I do with the kids? I don't get up for work until 6 o'clock. So they're out of school for 3 months. What do I do to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see. My joke is I always say kids should go to school from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, 6 days a week.
Just come home and sleep.
Just come home and sleep. Don't have any of this homework stuff.
Nah, listen, don't buy that one. I think Barbara's just joking on that.
Yeah, no, I don't think we could quite pull that off. Though I made my kids go to school on Saturday. They went to German Saturday school.
Mm-hmm. It didn't hurt them any.
No.
Getting more education, getting more experience, getting exposure doesn't hurt. That's why, you know, kids need to be able to get into the school business after school, for after school activities, unpaid after school activities. If schools are going to be free, then everything in it should be free. You don't know, or you may know, the enormous amount of funds that parents have to reach into their pocket for after school programming.
Yeah, well, I know in some of the towns they're talking about pay for play, because the sports are so expensive. Mm-hmm. It's particularly football. I'm not a big fan of football because I think it's dangerous. It's exclusive. Only a very limited number of people can play it. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive to run.
Yeah, now, speaking of football, there is a women's football team that we're going to be bringing on the show. Probably we'll do it on All Politics is Local. I mean, I am so excited. I'm going to be helping them put together their very first banquet.
Wow. It's
a women's football team. Like, go girl, listen, don't hit me. You know, y'all can be out there. Or some things women want to do that guys do, you on your own with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and, you know, for most of the rest of the world, in the past couple of weeks, football meant soccer.
Okay, that too.
Soccer is less expensive to play, mm-hmm. is less equipment, is less dangerous, and more people can play it at all ages.
Yeah, but I don't listen. I don't argue with people what they want to do. There are women out there who want to do construction. Listen, go girl, do all the construction you want to do. Call me when the job is done. All I want to do is open the door and go in. You know, it's just not for our job. But I'm not knocking it if it's for them.
You know, I don't disagree with you. I just think football's dangerous.
Oh, no, football is dangerous, and it's getting more and more dangerous. It was dangerous at first, and then they came up with all this supposed to be healthy equipment to wear. And then now it's dangerous again because people have figured out how to get, you know, under the equipment and, you know, do other kind of stuff, you know, just to win a game. You know, hurt somebody just to win a game.
Yeah, that's really
so
sad.
It's like, who's the grown-up here?
Well, and I think the head injuries are a real issue. They're a real issue.
Yeah.
So what else is going on in Hartford?
Well, you know, we have this Senate race going on. There's one state rep race going on in the 7th district. And people are having conversations about Council President Sean Wooden versus longtime Senator Eric Coleman. So that's happening.
Well, and there's the first, which I don't know what's going on, because I just checked on the Secretary of State website today, and supposedly Rico Dents is running, so I don't know if I'm being primaried yet.
Oh, he's running for the Senate seat?
Yeah.
I thought he was running for the House seat.
No, for Senate district.
Wow.
And he's listed as Republican, so I'll have to call and find out if I'm having a primary.
Wow. So then you're the endorsed candidate.
I'm the endorsed candidate. Am I optimistic? I'm practical. I think John Funfire has been there far too long. I think we need a change. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. But you know what? Nothing beats a try. Nope. So, you get out there, you say what you want to say, you let people listen to what it is, and if they buy what you say, then on election day, they'll make sure that they elect you, and, you can say, John, hey, we'll have some conversation. Let's sit down and talk about this. Because the one thing that I don't like is that when people lose elections, that they become enemies of the person, who won. And it depends on how the election is ran. If the person starts saying all kind of cruel and harsh things, then that's not the way, to win an election. It's a job application. So you should put your best foot forward to try to say, okay, listen, I'm the better candidate because.
Well, and I think that it's time for change. I think I have a different perspective on particularly kids' issues. I think I have a good understanding of what goes on in Hartford versus what goes on in Wethersfield and how we need to work together. And I have some ideas on how to make government run better.
Well, listen, I know that everybody would be willing to open up their ears to those ideas.
I take a very practical approach. Take a very practical approach. One of the things that's really sad is Hartford has had yet another killing, another shooting.
I'm glad that you brought that up too, because on Saturday the 19th, I forget the location, there's going to be a buyback program. So if individuals have guns that you found, whatever the case may be, they're going to be exchanging guns for, I do know the location, I just remember. They're going to be exchanging the guns for gift cards at 127 Martin Street. So if you live in that area, then stop by on July the 19th.
I think that's the first of 3 buybacks. And the gift cards are only going to be for Hartford residents. It's $200 for a pistol and $50 for rifles or long guns.
Okay. All right.
And no questions asked how you acquired them. They are going to test the guns to determine if they've been used in a crime.
Exactly. Which they should do.
Absolutely. Do I think this is the solution to the problem? No.
No.
It's not the solution, but it's a piece.
Yeah.
It's a piece of the solution.
Right. And it's so disheartening for me because a lot of times the people who buying the guns are young people.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very, very hard for me as a parent to think that I don't know what my child has in their room. I used to do foster care for teenagers, and I had a little run-in with one of the teenagers. Well, why are you going into my room? I said, girl, if your room can be outside of my house, then it's your room. Anything in my house is mine.
Yeah.
I will go in it. Trust me, I will go in it. To the point of if you don't want to, you need to slam the door. The next time you come, I had a friend of mine, the next time you come home, there'll be no door.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have a curtain. You'll have a curtain. You need some privacy? Here's a curtain.
Yeah, I can remember.
Don't slam my door.
I can remember my husband running up the stairs and popping the pins on a door that got slammed once too often.
There you go.
Yeah.
But see, that's that old school, parent rearing, training kids. Nowadays, a parent will go in the room and knock the kid around when the simple solution is the door is the problem.
Yeah.
Take away the door.
Well, I think these are really tough times to be a parent in. I mean, if you have a kid and you're trying to discipline them, and they say, "You touch me, I'll call the police."
Girl, give them the phone. Give them the phone.
But I've seen those agencies get involved with kids.
No, and I have too, and I have too, and I'm glad that we're getting on that subject, because I think that last week when we were talking, that's where we ended,
right?
On that conversation about DCF, and I think that it's a great concept that they want to come in and help children. I think that some children need to be rescued, from their bad parents. However, most children that DCF removes from their home need to stay in the home and deal with the parent issues, because a lot of it is the parent issue that's going on that's having to do with what's going on with the child. That doesn't necessarily mean that the child needs to come out of the home to fix the problem.
Well, and it's interesting. I'm an adoptive parent, and when you're an adoptive parent, they home study you, they investigate you.
Absolutely.
When we adopted our daughter from Chile, we had to have a psychological evaluation. And what I always say, it's harder to get a driver's license than to become a biological parent.
Exactly.
They don't teach you parenting in school. We don't do a lot of really good public public health education on parenting. We don't have the supports we necessarily need. And there was a time where in a neighborhood people worked with each other a little more.
Exactly. We were talking about that yesterday. We were at Mount Olive. My mother was being honored from the Historical Society of National African American History and Cultural Society, and we were talking about that back in our days when our parents did not have a cell phone, many of them did not even have telephones in their home. When we acted up on the street, our parents knew before we got home what happened out there. We're like, how you know? See, but nowadays we got cell phones and all kind of technology, and you better not tell somebody's child what to do.
Yeah.
You're going to have to deal with the child and the parent. It's like, wait a minute. See, and this is where I have my problems with the law, because I say, and even in like bullying in school, I think that the system helps you just to have a festation of bullying, because if a bad child, mean child, whatever it is, cause that child to act out on another child, the child who retaliates is the child who gets in trouble. It's like, no. Let me tell you, the way to stop bullying down here is if they hit you and they know it's going to hurt coming back, you're going to stop that bullying. But as soon as that happens, then they want to punish you. I get those calls. I'm like, I'll take that one every day.
And I don't remember growing up and having bullying issues. I don't remember seeing any of that.
Well, let me tell you, I mess with one of my friends now, who she and I are very close to, because her sister used to torment me when I was growing up in Dutch Point. And I said, y'all used to terrorize me, until one day it came between she and my father's fishing rod. I'm like, okay, well, I got to tackle her. Otherwise, I got to, see him when he gets home.
Right.
So that ended my bullying days. But no, kids are being bullied, and nowadays it's more detrimental than just a thing of, taking your father's fishing rod.
Yeah.
Because there's weapons and knives and guns, involved, and people end up, laid away straight on the streets. It's gotten that serious.
To go back to the shootings, there was supposed to be a vigil again this evening.
Yeah, Reverend Brown does a very good.
Reverend Brown. It was actually the vigil was supposed to be maybe it's tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 15th?
Yes.
Tomorrow's the
Tuesday.
15th at Auburn and Westland Street at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And evidently, Tyshawn Crawford, who was shot, was a cousin of Reverend Brown's. So
well, in Hartford, everybody's related.
Yeah.
Everybody is related somewhere, somehow, some way. So we're all just one big family.
Well, people shouldn't be shooting at each other.
Okay, there you go. But you know what the thing is?
To what end?
Yeah, but it goes back to the school and the education thing, where you gotta have problem-solving skills. So if I have an issue with you, then I need to resolve whatever that issue is. Otherwise, just don't be bothered with you. I don't need to hurt you. I don't need to harm you. You don't need to harm me. If we can't get along, then we just separate. But these kids don't see it that way. And a lot of things, there's a lot of territorial stuff going on. There's a lot of, drug dealing going on. And drugs are always about economics. I don't care what anybody says. Drugs are about economics. It's not about, people like to be out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, sleepless nights, rain, snow. No, it's about economics. It's about putting food on the table. What they need are jobs. What they need are opportunities. What they need is like what's going on at City Hall tonight not not happen. That you're going to be discriminated against, just because of who you are. So if a person who comes out of the military who has great training can't get a job at the police department because of, credit history, then, who can get a job?
I don't know. And, job creation is I think about it a lot. How do you create jobs? You create jobs when you have businesses that are not overregulated, that don't have such high overhead, that they can afford to hire someone. I used to hire high school students to do filing, $4.50 an hour. Can't afford them at $9 an hour.
Right,
or
$10.10.
And it was good for young people to be able to get an opportunity to work.
Exactly.
So the whole minimum wage thing is a mixed bag.
Well, it is, and then it isn't, because you make more than you pay more. Your rates are higher, so their rates are higher. And then when we were going to school, they had work study programs where we worked half the day in our senior year, and then we could go to work the other half the year. But there were nonprofit organizations who subsidized, and still do. Capital Workforce Partners is one of those who subsidize young people to go into the workplace. So you'll pay a portion of their wages, and they pay the other portion. So there are still those opportunities available.
But not enough
for young, but definitely not enough.
Not enough. And it's not like we don't have things to be done.
Trust me, there's plenty to be done.
There's plenty
to be learned. There's plenty helping, to be done. Just in the community alone, each one teach one. Children raising.
Well, and it's like what the community court does. They have people out cleaning up areas, doing stuff like that. And if people are on unemployment or receiving subsidy, and they're able, there should be something they can do that makes them feel better about themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just think, I retired 3 times already. I can't believe it. I'm retired 3 times. Why am I still working?
I don't know. Why
am I still working? I mean, I'm too young. I still have a lot of energy. Yeah. I still have, more to give. So, I mean, I give it differently. But, I tell people, when you retire, you don't retire from life. You find your passion. When you no longer have to check in for somebody else, now you can find your passion and what, really drives you and the things that you want to do to help, others to find their passion. Yeah. So I tell people that the first 20 years or so, you work for somebody else because you need to pay the bills.
Right.
The next 20 years, you ought to find something that you like to do. Work on your passion, because that way you're going to have a longer life. You're going to be happy. You're going to get up every morning and go, yes, I love what I do, and I'm going to continue to do it until I can no longer do it,
right?
Anymore. And so that's why I'm retired 3 times, and I'm still working. There's just so much to do.
Soon. I'm not retiring anytime soon.
Then don't.
I like what I do.
If you like what you do, then don't retire.
Some days it makes me a little crazy, though. Some days it's like, don't call me up. Don't complain. Don't talk to me.
But then you quickly get over it and you get back into the swing of things. We want to thank you all for joining us again here for another chit chat on One Hartford on accesstv.org. Remember, next week you can call us at 914-222-3771. We don't care how tough the questions are. Call us. We'll find an answer. Between Barbara and I and Alyssa, one of us will have a great answer for you. But until then,
we're stumped by nothing. Nothing phases
right.
us.
We're stump proof, right?
Right.
If they ask us, we'll have the answer. We are stump proof. Remember that. So call us next week. But tune in often as you like on accesstv.org to see us on One Hartford.